Now, Talk Real Estate, sponsored by Boston Connect Real Estate Services.
Hi, I'm Sharon McNamara, and you are listening to Talk Real Estate. Let me share a little bit about my background before we get started. I am the broker-owner of Boston Connect Real Estate, located on the South Shore, and I have been working as a full-time realtor and sales and marketing consultant for home buyers and home sellers for the past 15 years. My unique approach to assisting my clients to the next chapter of their lives is driven by being a team player and by offering them continuous training, education, advising, and mentoring. Every week, I will be providing you with real estate topics ranging from home buyer and home seller advice, legal matters, insurance binders, flood insurance concerns, home inspection questions, environmental worries like radon, lead paint, and mold, mortgages and loan programs, staging tips and ideas, real estate contracts, market trends, home values, and more. It's a talk radio show, and you can follow along online. If you have any questions during the show, please call 781-837-4900. We'd love to talk real estate. If you missed any of our shows, you can listen on my podcast at talkrealestateradio.com. If you would like a one-on-one consultation with me regarding your home sale or your home purchase, you can connect with me anytime at bostonconnect.com or 781-826-8000. Now, sit back, relax, take good notes, and let's talk real estate. And hello to all my South Shore neighbors. This is Sharon McNamara. You are, of course, listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable with Sharon McNamara, Mary Baker, and Melissa Wallace. We have another fun-packed evening tonight. Lots of people calling in. We have a couple of guests here. We are doing our best to keep our 6 feet with everybody, but people, me, Mary, and Melissa basically live with each other, so we're doing the 3 feet rule and not hugging and kissing and any of that good stuff.
It's been really intense.
It's been intense, but we talked about this last week. We had on some specialists talking about the coronavirus and how that directly impacts real estate. And tonight, I'm going to make this more of a community program and show. We have two very important people with us, and we definitely did the 6 feet thing with them because we don't want them getting sick because we need you guys.
Yeah, definitely need you, for sure.
This was how it went with me today. So that little giggle that you heard is Lisa Cullity, and she is our health agent here in Pembroke. And she said, yes, I'll be there, but if things go crazy, it's going to be one of those days. And I was like, just wrap yourself in a magic cloak.
That's a true story.
A magic cloak. I was like, just pretend. I was like, you're out there to save the world and, to bring strength to everybody. So Lisa, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I know you've been busy.
No, not at all.
Yeah, because on top of everything else that you already do, this is just added. So we're going to definitely...
This is like adding a tsunami to a flood zone.
Mm-hmm. Well, we can always use tornado since I was in one a few weeks, so feel free. And then we have one of our very special guests that we have all the time, Mr. Yes, you're special.
You're special.
Yes, we have our Deputy Chief, Ken McCormick, with us this evening as well. Are all the guys over at the fire department listening to you tonight?
I don't know if anybody's listening. But,
they get to listen to you.
We were busy today, so just before I got here, we got a...
Yeah, I saw that you got a call, so I wasn't sure if you were going to make it or not, but you feeling a little sleepy?
No, I'm not bad.
No?
Not too bad yet.
Things are good, so I'm very
Knock
curious.
Knock on wood.
Yes.
Knock on wood.
Yes.
Literally.
So very curious. We have Melissa is getting everybody ready, so you can see us still on Facebook. We're going to manipulate the camera a couple times throughout the show so you can see Lisa and Ken once Melissa gets everything all figured out, and we're okay to share. You want to share a mic and say hello to the peeps?
Hi, peeps.
So that was her. I have another microphone, but we need another plug. So, Ben, I got to talk to you about how to do that one day, okay?
We'll make a wireless unit happen for you. We also do have Lisa on the line as well.
All right. So we have Lisa DeMilo from WATD Traffic Center. I'm not going to do anything fancy with her because my first question to her before the traffic is to say, okay, we talked about this last week. We saw a slowdown because of traffic, and I thought, hey, that's the coronavirus. What are you seeing now, Lisa?
Oh, you are right on the money, Sharon. I'll tell you. In fact, I was telling everyone here in the traffic center, and they all said, the next morning, because it's exactly, we started to see a decrease in the volume day to day, and today it's basically been non-existent for most of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yesterday, my daughter is self-quarantining herself in Boston because she went to Paris and she got off a plane. No one told her that she should, other than her mother. But I literally went from Pembroke to Beacon Street in Boston, and I don't think I put my foot on the brake once. So I literally made it there in like 26 minutes, which is unbelievable. Nobody on the roads. So. It's
amazing. It's basically everything is flying out there. So if you were coming right now from Braintree up into the tunnel, you'd be doing it in 9 minutes.
Wow, that's
crazy.
Amazing.
Yeah,
that is amazing.
I mean, when have we ever seen that? And you know what? On the southbound side, it's about the same thing. It's maybe 10 minutes, an extra minute or so. So it's really, really been non-existent today, other than maybe a crash that was on the off-ramp to Route 3 South on Route 44 West. There was really no action at all.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So everybody is heeding the warning, and that's a good thing.
Yes.
That is a good thing.
Absolutely. So how is it looking for you right now out there for all of our listeners who are coming back, basically? Whatever,
sure.
Right?
So you're wide open, as I just said, on the expressway in both directions. Route 3 is an easy ride down to Plymouth. The Sagamore and the Bourne are both delay-free. And Route 24 South, 16 minutes from 93 to 495. Can you imagine? This report is sponsored by the FCC. Are some of your local TV channels missing? Find them again by rescanning your TV now. Learn more at fcc.gov/TV rescan. Traffic on the 9s every morning. I'm Lisa DeMilo in the WATD Traffic Center.
We now return to Talk Real Estate, sponsored by Boston Connect Real Estate Services on 95.9 WATD.
And we are back. You are listening to Talk Real Estate with Boston Connect Real Estate's broker team. My name is Melissa Wallace, and I'm here with my team members, Sharon McNamara, Mary Baker. Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Hi. If you missed any of our past shows, you can go to talkrealestateroundtable.com, and you can listen to all of our previous shows, our podcasts, our episodes, or what we're calling them now. Or you can go to your podcast app, and you can search us in there. You can search Real Estate, Real Estate Roundtable, or you can even search all of our names because we're very famous and very important important on the South Shore, at least.
You can talk to Alexa now.
Yeah, you can
Alexa
talk to Alexa.
will tell you where to find us.
And then tonight we have Lisa Cullity from she's the health agent here in Pembroke, and we also have Deputy Chief McCormick. Hello.
Hello. How you doing?
Good. So Sharon, who did you want to?
Why don't we start with Ken, just in case he gets a call?
Yeah. All right. Yeah, just in case you
Sounds
get a
good.
call, like Batman. Like, I got a call, I gotta go. We should get one of those like symbols, like how Batman has the light.
The Ken symbol.
The Ken symbol. I know. We just need a big K.
We can get a Ken doll, and like that will be our thing. We can.
I like that.
You guys are killing me.
I'm just so glad you joined us tonight.
It's like, move on, ladies.
Yeah, so is he. He's thrilled. You can see it written all over his face.
Yeah.
He loves to
This
come
is
on our
I love
show. Okay, so let's start with you, Ken. What are some of the things that are going on here in Pembroke? Or I know you had a meeting yesterday that you sort of gave us a heads up on, in Plymouth. But what are some of the things that you are seeing in our town in regard to what's going on in the world right now?
So the police, fire, and health agent are working as a team, obviously, to combat, prevent, help stop the spread of COVID-19. So actually, Lisa is our go-to person.
Aren't I lucky?
We're taking our lead from the CDC and Mass Health on some of the things we're doing, and the fire department is doing kind of its own prevention. So this is it's not a new thing to us, but it's a quick and rapid evolving type of event for us. So, we've had to adjust a little quicker and faster than we normally would to these type of events. I think everybody has. So we meet every day, or we're going to start to meet every single day.
Yeah, we're down to every day. It was once a week when the disease first emerged. We were meeting every 3 or 4 days with texts and other communication in between, and now today we're down to a daily briefing, because that's just how fast it's changing. That's just how fast we're having to adapt our response to what we are seeing, the numbers we're seeing, the kind of reaction we're seeing. So,
well, one of the things that I found extremely interesting, it seemed that Plymouth County, we were one of the last counties in Massachusetts So is there anything special that you think attributes to that? Or do you think, do we wash our hands better than the people in Norfolk?
No, I think it's more of a statistical game, and I know that seems like an oversimplification, but it really is. I think that it was obviously likely we were going to see this emerge in Boston first. I think it was automatically logical we were going to see our largest clusters of outbreaks in Boston. I think it was a matter of time. I think that the South Shore was just destined to get hit. Obviously, the areas closer to the city started more than us. I think the delay is probably just we didn't have as many people in contact. And the other thing is, that there's a misunderstanding that everyone that comes into contact with this disease is immediately going to become symptomatic and meet the testing criteria. The testing criteria in the beginning, due to lack of tests, was very stringent. And I just don't think we had enough symptomatic people on the South Shore to warrant testing to get us positive hits. I think it was just a matter of time, and that time has come.
Well, it's interesting, too, because both of you know, because we all know each other personally. So my daughter, Mackenzie, is down at Clemson University, and she's working for the university now. And I sensed that people in big places sort of knew, and I'm guessing you guys knew about something about this sort of coming and how serious it was, because Mackenzie kept on calling us, and she's like, this was 3-4 weeks ago, and she's like, they're talking about closing down the school, and you have to stock up on Gatorade and in case you get sick and things like. And we're like, Mackenzie, seriously, like, you take everything to such an extreme. And she was right all along, and it was almost like the schools were preparing and they knew something. Ken, are you seeing people, because honestly, if I wake up with a little sore throat now, I'm like, oh, I have it. And then I'm like, oh, I haven't taken my allergy medicine in 2 days. Like, my head is, I literally didn't go to bed until 4:30 last night. I'm glued to CNN, and I'm like, oh, my throat's a little itchy. Oh my goodness. And you know what I mean? Like,
sure, that's a documented psychosomatic thing that goes on with people in situations like this. That is not an unusual circumstance. And generally, the more high strung you are, I'm not saying anything, Sharon, just a mild suggestion, that the more you are.
You said it, not us.
I said it. I went there. No, but all joking aside, it's a personality trait, and that's not an uncommon thing to start self-associating.
But here's the true thing is, for me, I really do not care if I get it, right? Because I feel like, yes,
your odds are some of the best.
Yeah, and I feel like if I get sick, I feel like I'm healthy enough to maybe combat it.
Yes.
If I'm sick and, you know what, my life is taken because of it, I feel like I'm okay with where I am in my head with, God and spirit, right? I'm really, really, really nervous about giving it to somebody else. Like,
Sure.
I'm sick over it. I'm sick about being too close to my mother, and even seeing Casey yesterday and going in her hallway, and literally I had a mask on, like, just being in her hallway. So and I made her spray everything and the entrance and all that. So I just am afraid that I'm going to give it to somebody who's old and like they're going to die because of me. I can't deal with it.
Valid concern. It's a valid
Yeah,
thought.
it is very valid. I mean, I wouldn't
stress.
Stress over it. It is. Unfortunately, it is what it is. You're not going to know you have it until.
I feel like if you're going to get it, you're going to get it, and there's really not too much that you can do.
Yeah.
I mean, you take the necessary precautions that everybody else is taking, but otherwise you just have to go on trying to live your life.
Right.
Like, if we all stop doing what we're doing, we're only making the economic situation that's outfalling from all of this even worse.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. But you want to do all those good safety things, but I'll go back to the point of you're so terrified of giving it to someone else. We should all be concerned about passing on diseases and germs that we have to other people.
In general, right?
But it's going to happen. This is what these germs do. That's what their whole chemical makeup is, to go out and attack. So I'll give you another comparison. Everyone's like, people got very excited about this disease. They were very concerned about it coming here, and that's a valid concern. But let's go back to Ebola. Some people have commented why Ken and I might be more relaxed when we approach this. Understand that long before this occurred here, we're drilling, minimum of quarterly. We're going over all kinds of different scenarios that might occur. And we were back when Ebola was a thing. We were drilling on Ebola. We were at H1N1. We were drilling on that. So part of our response and more pragmatic response is because this is what we do. We are always thinking about the next thing, with all due respect, that's going to come kill you. I mean, this is just one of the many things that could come. This one just happens to have gained a really good foothold and seems to have a really strong ability to spread.
So, Ken and ladies, anytime you feel that you want to ask some questions, just jump in. But Good. Do you have a question?
Yeah, actually I do. So just to piggyback off of Mary, we should continue to live our lives and not go panic and all that stuff. But there are things that we do have to change.
Sure.
I mean, we can't be in crowds of more than 10. We shouldn't be doing, going around. Not that anyone does this, but like licking like banisters.
You make that licking banisters.
They have these memes out there right now that's like, people are going crazy. But it's like there are things that we need to change about our everyday thing.
I've been meaning to tell you to stop licking the desks.
I want to go on the record. Pima does not recommend licking desks, door handles, banisters, or anything else. We're opposed.
Pulling up the escalator.
There are things that we do have to change, and it's for the better, not to, aggravate anybody or harm anybody. It's the opposite. We're trying to keep ourselves healthy and keep everybody else around us. So there are things that we need to change on a day-to-day basis. So do you guys have any suggestions of what we should be doing?
I love your original statement, and that's to live your life, and I'm going to just tweak it just a little bit for you, and then you can take this moving forward. Live your life responsibly.
Yeah.
So by all means, live your life. We've all got things we've got to do. Ken and I accept that our jobs are going to put us in the line of fire, if you would. And yes, everyone, to your point, you need to go about living your life. If you're not living a quality life, obviously, then we start questioning, well, what is it all about? But you want to live your life responsibly. So the responsible thing is like what you're doing. You ladies have obviously been together, and you are closer now than maybe is ideal, but you have all been together for weeks on very close quarters. So you accept that that's probably the way it's going to go between you guys. So you're living your lives, but you're living them responsibly, because just in case the folks can't watch this, you guys wiped everything within an inch of its life. I think Sharon just went through a whole canister of Clorox wipes. I just want to say that before.
She Lysoled the microphones and the boards and our chairs.
So those are the things you have to do. Like you said, there are things we have to do to prevent the spread of it. The 6 foot, the social distancing is one of them. Cleaning is one of them. Hygiene is one of them. Those are just things we have to do that maybe we weren't doing properly, or we weren't doing at all, or we weren't doing as much. So you just do those things, and your part's good. Then you can move on and do what you have to do normally. You have to kind of respect the distance of other people, the 10 people rule. Those are things that are going to be hard for people to accept, but we have to do it.
Well, I think it might be a little bit easier now, because it's not like you can go down to the bar and have a few drinks and stay till 1 a.m. anymore.
Think
Anymore.
about the money we're going to save. I'm going to save.
No, because how much money other people are losing.
Well, no. So now that's a really good topic that we should segue into. So I think we've all seen on Facebook, pick your internet, social media, whatever. There's a lot of misinformation out there. So the first thing I want to say is there's a lot of good information. And if you go to the DPH website and you put in COVID-19, all these fantastic bits of information on mass.gov come up. So go to mass.gov, make use of mass.gov. But you mentioned one thing that's very sad and hits me kind of right here, because these are all the people I work with, is that all those restaurants and bars, while they can do takeout, that's still an enormous devastation to their income, never mind the fact that doesn't help the servers and the bartenders. But there is, and this is not fake money, it's real money, and I'm sure at some point Josh is going to talk to you about this too. There are assistance programs all over the state website. Those that have been affected and have lost their jobs need to reach out yesterday, reach out now if you haven't done it, reach out tomorrow first thing in the morning and start applying for that information so that they can get the help. And also small businesses can apply. There's small business loans, float loans, and other things to help them get through these times. So, it breaks Ken's and my heart. And unfortunately in Pembroke, we're going to have to take some more steps, which I can talk about later, that is going to have more impact on private business. But those stopgaps are put in place. And if anything, the federal government has applied even more money to this. So please don't sit there and suffer. Please don't sit there and not be earning an income and be in trouble. Reach out. There are resources available.
And Josh is going to be calling in, so
he's actually
will
on the
talk
line
about
as we
that.
speak, Sharon.
He is.
There he is.
Oh, great. Hey, Josh. So we have Josh Cutler, who obviously is our Massachusetts state rep for Plymouth District, which is, what towns do we have again? We have Hanson, Pembroke, and Duxbury. So, Josh, thank you so much. And Hingham? Are you Hingham as well?
No, just the 3.
Oh, okay. I thought we had that conversation last night.
You just adopted a new town.
Yeah, and we just had Ben on there as well. So, Josh, I don't know if you can see us, but we have Lisa Cullity here.
I'm
with
watching
us,
you
of
on
course.
Facebook. I don't know if I can, if it's live or not, but I can.
Yes,
so
it is.
Hello, everyone.
A little bit of a delay. So we also have Deputy Chief Ken McCormick with us as well. So Lisa was first. Not Ken. I want to ask Ken a question. So Josh, just 1 second on what we were talking about, Ken. For Ken, do I have to call you Deputy Chief?
Ken's fine.
Okay, thank you. So
we're on that level. We can call
we'll
him
just
Ken.
go with Ken at this point. I do want to talk about maybe later if we get into it. It really isn't that big of a deal right now because we can always have another conversation and do a podcast on the impacts of real estate and what happens with the smoke certs and everything. But what are you doing for your guys? Like, what extra precautions do you have to take? Because if you come up on a scene, I know that you're always normally wearing gloves and things, but you have to be considering other things. So how are you staying safe?
Every call is unique. So if we're going to the back pain because the guy fell down the stairs and has no signs or symptoms of the flu and or been out of the country, it's a regular medical, like we've always handled. We'll ask some questions. Our 911 dispatchers are EMDing these calls much better than we would have before, getting a little bit more information. So going to the house, we're kind of aware of it. If it's a confirmed COVID-19 case, then we're using our protective gear going into the house that way. We're only committing one member to every single house until he decides what that call is, and then he'll call or summon other people to come and help him as needed. So we've taken some steps to protect ourselves because we have to. Because if we lose 2 or 3 people, we've lost a quarter of our department because everybody has to go. So, and we can't. That's something we can't afford.
And just to piggyback what Ken said, they're also making the assumption. They have to make the assumption that if this is a hardness of breathing, a chest congestion, we are working on the symptom. You are positive before we even move forward.
Do you have availability to get these people testing or anything like that, or is it just you have to get in line and go to Mass General?
Primary care. I beg people that are having these experiences, reach out to your primary. It's a doctor's order right now that gets you that test. Ken can't get a hold of your primary. Get online, tell them what they know your background. It is their recommendation that gets you in, and there's more testing popping up everywhere. But right now, to go to like South Shore or Cape Cod Hospital and get tested, you need your primary care's directive.
Okay.
I think as this progresses, you're going to see some satellite places that are going to open up, which is going to be a little bit more convenient. But that's not in the realm yet.
Okay. Real quick, do you see it getting worse?
Much worse.
How much worse?
I think we're going to see the kinds of curves and increases in cases that have been seen in other parts of the world.
So do you think that we're going to eventually end up, and I don't want to scare people, but I just want to know the facts, so I stop watching CNN all night until 4:30 in the morning?
Agreed.
I don't know that that's going to happen.
Yeah, I know. So, we'll be quarantined into the house.
I think there's a distinct possibility. If you ask me percentage right now, I'd say 50 to 75% likely.
Okay. And again, if that's what we have to do, that's what we have to do. So in order to get that curve down, everybody has to be off the street.
Correct.
Because I have to tell you, I was a little annoyed at the people who decided that it was okay to roam around Southie drinking the other day. What are you thinking?
And again, there's an information flow and there's an information disparity too. Until the governor came out with orders, which, by the way, Ken and I found out on the news like everyone else. Normally, these are not the way these things go. We get kinds of updates and mailings from our different channels. I found out live with everyone else in Massachusetts. I'm like, oh, we're going there. So it puts us at a little bit of a disadvantage to respond in a timely manner. And I guess that's the one thing that I'm a little bit puzzled by, that the CDC didn't have stronger guidance at the federal level, that the federal level didn't come down with stronger guidance to the state level quicker. But at the same time, I think everyone's lost sight of one thing, even though we watched what happened with China and Italy, is that this is still an emerging infectious disease. We hadn't seen this run through people. So I think there's still a lot of a learning curve going on there that was, that the balance of we don't want to alarm and terrify and, as we said, not let our live our lives versus keeping people safe. And I think that's a really tough balance to do, whether you talk right here in Pembroke or at the state level or at the federal level.
So some of the things I'm seeing, and Josh, I'm sorry, do you have a time constraint? Because I just had a couple other questions for them.
Yeah.
All right, perfect.
Sure.
So I noticed like right away, like Dunkin' Donuts and things like that. So there's no more, so like P-Hop and all these little sub shops, no more eating in, just take out.
No more sitting and eating or drinking in any establishment. You may take your meal and go.
And that's all of Massachusetts?
All of Massachusetts.
Okay, but they don't have to close. They just can't have seats there.
There's no one that can be sitting in any eating establishment.
We also noticed that some of the hairdressing salons are closing. The dentist is closing.
Yeah.
What about the nail salons?
Here we go. So this is the very tough decision. And I'd say, Ken, we went back and forth 20 minutes on this because we didn't like doing this, but we are getting ready to release tomorrow our newest directives. We had all that conversation, and it's going to be an order that hair salons, which a lot of them, to their credit, have already closed. Hair salons, nail salons, massage parlors, any line of work that requires a person to touch another person is going to be ordered to close if they haven't already. We're going to make the steps, and this was done. I had conversations with the vast majority of child care givers in Pembroke that we are going to have those facilities close. There is a special provision for the medical staff and first responders that if they can stay open, maintain classroom sizes of 20 or less, only for those necessary medical providers and first responders they may. They each have to come up with a plan for it. There's only 2 facilities in Pembroke that are, have a clientele need enough that they're thinking about trying to do that. And the last one is we're going to have to order the gyms that haven't closed on their own. We're going to have to order them to close. Obviously, the kinds of bodily fluids that would be generated when someone uses a gym is exactly the kind of thing that we don't want passing from person to person, and the kind of thing that can be very difficult to sterilize in between people using similar equipment.
Okay, so that was really good news. Sorry about that. So to all of our WATD listeners, you are listening to Talk Real Estate with Sharon McNamara and our broker team here, Baker and Melissa Wallace. We're very fortunate that these 2 people that we have here tonight and the person that we have on the phone with us, always willing to drop whatever you're doing to make sure that we can get that information out to the public. So this tonight's show really has nothing to do with real estate. It has everything to do with the virus and just trying to get that information out to you. So our guests are going to stay here with us for as long as they possibly can. But again, we have Josh Cutler on the phone with us, and of course he is our state representative. Josh, thank you again. I know that this was short notice for you, and why don't you give us an update on some of the things that you're seeing? I know some of the questions that people are concerned about from your level and perspective, and Lisa tapped in on it. What's going on with jobs? What are people going to do with small businesses? What about the 1099 employees? And I know we had a little conversation about the seniors that I'm really interested in talking more about.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, and thanks for having me on. Thanks to your listeners, and thanks, I guess we're all on a first-name basis here. Thanks, Ken and Lisa, for all that you're doing. You guys are really on the front line.
Thanks.
Thank you, Josh.
And we've been seeing each other quite a bit lately, which is nice, but obviously not under these circumstances. So lots going on. I think a couple of things I wanted to mention specifically in terms of small business and unemployment issues. Just want to kind of reassure folks, obviously there's a lot of unease and uncertainty. State government is continuing to function, or obviously, we're taking steps like everyone else, doing things remotely. I get a lot of things done sitting in my living room with my laptop and phone, and we're all doing those kind of things. But our state government is still moving forward. Governor Baker's been very visible, having press conferences every day, giving us the latest information. Just got word that he's going to be doing a press conference at Logan Airport tomorrow just to talk about some of the flying-related issues that come up. So that's important to know. We're taking all the necessary precautions, but our state government continues to function and continues to operate. Been a lot of developments. The news kind of comes fast and furious for folks who for paying attention. It's hard to keep up sometimes. A couple of things that I wanted to mention I think are important for folks to know, and feel free to jump in anytime if you have questions, Sharon, or want me to try to
will do.
Answer any follow-ups. One has to do with, obviously, the economic. Lisa talked about the health and safety issues here. Obviously, the economic issues are considerable as well. The impact this is going to have on, our economy across the board, but especially small businesses and folks in that genre. So there is a new government loan program that I wanted that Lisa mentioned earlier. I wanted to kind of dive into a little bit. I think it's important for folks to be aware of. This is something that Governor Baker just announced yesterday. It's the Small Business Recovery Loan Fund. And we're allocating up to $10 million for small businesses, and these would be small businesses of 50 full-time equivalents or less. Most small businesses around here would fit into that category. And they can apply for up to $75,000. The amount depends on what their operating expenses have been for the past first quarter. And the loan offers no payment at all for 6 months, and then low interest terms. I believe it's around 3 3/4%. So it's favorable rates, easy application process, and no payments at all for 6 months. So it's something I would definitely urge folks to take advantage of. There's $10 million available now. That sounds like a lot of money, but that will get snapped up quick when you do the math. And there's no prepayment penalty either. So I would sort of have you take a look at it like it's kind of like a line of credit or a kind of break in case of emergency. If you don't need those funds, great. You can always pay it back without prepayment penalty at the end of this. But if you need that, heaven forbid, because you're having issues meeting payroll or there's further changes in the economy, then that's something that is a good fail-safe fallback kind of option. So again, it's the Small Business Recovery Loan Fund, and the website, I'll give it out if folks out there can take it down. It's called empoweringsmallbusiness.org. That's empoweringsmallbusiness.org. And, of course, I can share this with you, Sharon, so you can put it on your own website and share it on Facebook, and it's on mine as well. So I know some folks had asked me, because when it first went live, there was a little bit of a mad rush, and I think they had a temporary glitch, and it wasn't able to process, but that has been fixed. It is working. You can go in and you can apply, and you do it all electronically. You submit the application form and the backup information. You do it all through this email that's provided, and it's in terms of a loan, it's fairly straightforward kind of process. So again, it's Small Business Recovery Loan Fund. It's empoweringsmallbusiness.org. Up to $75,000 for small businesses to apply with no payments due for the first 6 months. So a good option for many folks, not for everybody, but for many folks. The other thing I want to mention on the flip side... One of the things,
too, is you were saying, people should really start applying for that soon, because if it's $10 million and $75,000, that's 133 businesses if everybody maxed out at that $75,000. So hopefully it's people are just taking a little bit to help them, not all of it, right?
Yeah, and again, I think, we're fortunate in Massachusetts that we have taken, sort of the prudent steps, and we've built up our rainy day fund. And other measures that can help to sustain us during a time like this. So my guess, and I don't want to make any predictions out there, but if that program were to be shown to be very popular and be very useful, I would suspect that we would try to replenish those funds. But obviously we can't. We don't. It's very uncertain times, and so I would just urge everyone out there listening to if you think this fits your business, to take advantage of that now, sooner rather than later.
Perfect. And what about the employees?
Yeah, so that's what I want to mention. So unemployment, obviously, a lot of folks dealing with that, or unfortunately more will be dealing with it in the future. So there's already been some changes made already through executive order to our unemployment claims system. Some basic things like you no longer have to visit the Mass Hire Career Center in person. That's been suspended. If you miss a deadline due to COVID-19, it's considered good cause, and your lateness is excused. All appeal hearings are now being held by telephone. Those are things that have already taken effect. Also, if a worker is quarantined due to an emergency order, which is the case today, or by their medical professional, that would then qualify as an event to qualify for unemployment. If you had to leave employment due to a reasonable risk of exposure or to care for a family member, and you're not able to or not allowed to return to work, that would qualify for unemployment benefits. And the nice thing is the worker does not need to provide medical documentation, just has to be available for work when and as able. So those are things that are already in effect. There are some additional steps that the governor has asked for and the legislature is actively working on right now, and I say actively like literally today and tomorrow, to file some emergency regulations. Number one, in many cases we have businesses that for the short term, meaning maybe the next 4 weeks or the next 8 weeks, are contemplating maybe having to close their doors for a period of time, and then want those workers to be able to come back when they do reopen. Under the existing conditions, a worker wouldn't necessarily qualify for unemployment in that scenario, and so we're going to be changing that to allow workers to apply for unemployment even for a short term, such as 4 weeks, assuming they expect to reopen. Additional clause. One would be to waive. There's currently a 1-week waiting period for unemployment benefits. We're working to waive that 1-week period. And then employers, this is for the employer side, who are impacted by this, can request up to a 60-day grace period to file their quarterly reports and pay their contributions for employers that are familiar with that. So those are all steps that aren't in effect yet, but that the governor has requested and the legislature is working on as we speak to try to ameliorate the situation. And the other, one final one, there's pending federal legislation at the federal level that would provide further relief, including providing additional funding for benefits, because that's one of the things we'll run into is extending out the benefits themselves, and then providing relief to employers for charges that they have as a result of benefits being paid out for all of this. So that's and you get very much into the weeds in these things very quickly. I don't want to go off too far on a tangent. But if folks need help with unemployment claims, I would encourage them to reach out to my office or their own representative. We do this all the time and under normal circumstances, and certainly happy to help folks under these trying times. So some major changes. Those are sort of two major changes that are happening. A lot of other things in the works. There's the federal government has a Sba Loan Program. They have an economic injury disaster loan program that offers larger loans for small businesses to overcome temporary issues like this. It involves a little bit more, a few more additional steps. The state has applied formally to invoke this, and that process is underway, and so we should have information on that soon. But that's another avenue that businesses who maybe need a little bit more money, more than just $75,000, could apply for through the Small Business Administration. So those are three things that are going on, and I'll just add one more, and I'll happy to take questions. Today, the DPU had previously issued a no shut-off rule to our utilities, so that no residential customer would be shut off for non-payment. Today, we've asked them to apply that same rule to small businesses, so that no small business will be shut off for non-payment, and also allow up to 24 months for repayment if they need to defer their payment, so they can amortize that over a longer period of time, obviously to reduce some of their costs. So lots going on. Those are just some of the things that are happening literally today and yesterday.
It seems like we keep on breaking up a little bit, but Ben, we're good there, right? Ben?
Did we lose Ben? Did we lose me?
No, I got you, so I just don't know where Ben is. So, all right.
It's all that matters, Josh.
Yeah. So we'll just keep going here because I think he has us. We'll figure that all out. But can you talk about? We talked a little bit about the seniors, and again, they just seem to be my biggest concern. So can you talk a little bit about them as well? Yeah,
absolutely. Obviously, our seniors are concerned at any time, but especially given that the coronavirus is there among the most susceptible to it. So there's a few different resources, and I just want to quickly tell a story that you and I were chatting about offline, Sharon. It was nice. It's actually just last night on WATD, we had someone call in during a show, and he was from Marshfield, and he was a senior, and he was basically concerned that he had no television, he didn't have the internet, he really only had the radio and his telephone, and he felt isolated and wasn't really sure what he should be doing and what resources were available there. And one of the things I mentioned was that we have something called the 211 service here in Massachusetts, kind of like 411 for those of you who remember that. 211, and you can call, and it's open 24/7, and they have operators that stand by, and they can answer questions that people have or direct you to resources. So it's a great option for seniors who maybe have a question and can't get online easily or don't have someone readily available to ask. Just dial 211 on your phone, and it's available obviously in English and also have Spanish and other languages as well. So that's a great option. But the nice sort of postscript to the story was that after we had this whole discussion, two other listeners called into the station, and one of them offered up a laptop computer to this gentleman, and the other offered a television. So just the nice community spirit that was in play, was really nice to see that people were stepping up, and it's not always the government. It's the community stepping up and really showing compassion to somebody. So I thought that was a nice, uplifting little story in this larger
Yeah,
piece that we're
and
in.
that's what I said to you earlier too. Is it really is nice to see like all of our communities around here. You know, we talk about Pembroke Connect, and obviously everybody knows we're the founder of that page. And sometimes it does get a little bit off the rails, but I really do find that in times of crisis and things like this, most of the people do come together. I know people have been reaching out to me. Yeah, one of my past clients is a good friend. She called me the other day. She has the same concerns about seniors, and we're trying to put something together where we'll be able to like go and maybe pick up stuff for them and deliver it to them. And you know, we know we're not going to take advantage of seniors, you know, because there's so many people that take advantage of situations like this. Yeah. But then we're also talking about you know, the kids that are out of school right now. They're old enough. Maybe they can donate their time for community service to help some of these parents, because I think 38% of the kids who are in school, their parents are either firefighters, nurses, and things like that we need right now. Yeah. So I think it's really heartwarming to see the community come together like that.
Absolutely. Come together, but at a distance.
And with some Lysol wipes.
Socially distancing.
Socially come together. So did anybody else have any questions? No, go ahead.
So, Sharon,
go ahead, Josh.
That's one I was just going to comment. That's one of the nice things about social media. You know, obviously there's times when there's downsides to it, but you know, they have these kind of folks stepping up and sharing ideas and sharing resources. I've seen young people who volunteered to come pick up groceries and drop them off in, you know, the front homes of seniors and things like that. So those are nice to see. I wanted to mention one other thing. I don't know how much time we have left, but to your audience,
as much time as you need.
A little bit off topic, but it's a big issue here in Pembroke, and it's certainly an issue further afield as well. Is we have elections coming up. It's election season here. You know, in many communities we have a special election coming up in Pembroke and other communities, Plymouth, Kingston, down to the Cape. And I know our town clerks are concerned about this, and we've been talking about how, you know, we can continue to have elections and town meetings and all these kinds of things, questions that come up. But one thing we want to push to everybody is the idea of absentee voting, and really encourage folks for the special election that's coming up in our Senate district, but also for town elections that are coming up and may or may not have to be rescheduled, that you use an absentee ballot, because that really makes life a lot easier for your clerks. It's a great, convenient way for yourself, and you know, it makes things a lot easier for everybody involved. And so, just want to really encourage folks to consider that option wherever they live. There's a one-page form. It's on the Secretary of State's website. It's on my website. It's readily available, mass.gov/SEC. You can go on. You can request an absentee ballot. You mail it in to your local town clerk. The addresses are provided. And I can tell you that the town clerks in our communities that I represent have all agreed to accept those via email as well, so making it even easier. You send in that form. It's a one-page form. Couldn't be easier to fill out. Then they'll mail you the ballot when it comes time for the election with an envelope, and you return it back. And you can vote. Essentially, it's voting by mail, and all the normal sort of rules about being physically present not being able to be physically present in the town and the voting day are being essentially waived. So I really emphasize that the absentee ballots will really take a lot of pressure off our town clerks and allow everyone to, you know, exercise their right to vote in a way that's safe and easy for everybody.
I do actually have a caller on the line, Sharon, as well. John from Plymouth had a question.
Okay. Hi, John.
Hello. How are you?
We are doing fantastic, thank you. What is your question, and who is it for?
It's probably for everyone. Just some thoughts I've been having. What about people who have mortgages or even property taxes? I mean, I think this is the period right now where we got to pay our excise taxes. I mean, this is going to be a big domino effect for all of us. And I just think that with the people you have in your studio right now, that perhaps it's a little food for thought that us as citizens of the Commonwealth, we need help now. For years and for a lifetime, we've all been paying our taxes, all sorts of taxes. We have the rainy day fund. Why can't, politicians get to dip into that. Why can't we dip into that as citizens? This is that $10 million fund. That is such an awesome thing for the governor and the mayor to do. But I believe that came from a company. But we need to start thinking for the people of the Commonwealth instead of just always drawing money from us. I think it's about time that we start getting a little bit back, even if they're loans or even if it's putting off due dates just to help us all out, because this is just the beginning for all of us. And in our age, in our time of age, if you understand what I'm trying to say,
I do.
We need our politicians to start acting in favor of us. Not saying that they don't do all the time, but this is the time we need help. And it's vital that they start doing stuff for us.
And I'm going to let Josh sort of talk more about that. But I do know, too, that, Josh, I've seen a couple of things where, with the bigger banks anyways, they're sort of forgiving one of the pay. I think that they're okay with late. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Thanks, John, for the question. I really appreciate it, and I take that to heart. A couple things I wanted to just try and take notes quickly to make sure I hit all the questions you had. I wanted that state loan program is state funds, so that is your taxpayer dollars helping our small businesses. It's what we call a quasi-public entity. It's funded by tax dollars indirectly. In terms of there already have been a number of calls to suspend any type of evictions for rent non-payment or for mortgage non-payments. That is already happening. Certainly, I think you're going to have more of that. I was on a conference call today, in fact, and that the issue of meals tax came up. This is more applicable for not so much as someone going to a restaurant, but as a restaurant itself. Many of these are small businesses. Many of these are suffering during this time, and it just so happens I wasn't aware that the meals tax, quarterly meals tax payments are due, like in a week, in about a week. And that's a significant amount of money for a lot of small businesses to be paying. And so there's some discussion, some requests from legislators to see if we could push that out further, delay that a little bit to give those businesses more time to pay that. So those are the kinds of discussions that are happening. This is literally a conversation from today. These are all things that are happening right now as we speak. And I would just say that, to John and to everyone else out there, let your elected folk representatives know, we want to hear from you. I wasn't aware of this meals tax because I'm not a restaurant. But, it made me think, and the fact that issue was raised, got into the discussion, and it was communicated to the governor's key people. And, hopefully something will happen. I can't guarantee that it will. But we're definitely listening, and we want to hear these things. And if there's ways directly that we can help folks, I guarantee all 159 of my fellow reps, Democrat and Republican, they want to help. And, so whatever ideas are out there, please reach out to us. I know, I can't speak for the town in terms of your property tax. I don't know if that's something the towns are looking at. Obviously, they have their own needs to be able to keep government running there. But I can tell you that we're looking at all of these options, and certainly our minds are totally, open to suggestions.
Perfect. And John, that was a great question. If you want to stay on the line, feel free to do so. But we have to break at 7:00. We have another half hour. Josh, if you still want to stay with us, feel free to do so. I also know that we have Mark Stiles might be calling in as well. That he's out there seeing. All right, perfect. But we're going to take the break again. John, thanks so much for your call. We'll be right back.
WATD FM Marshfield, WMEX Quincy, WBMS Brockton, and translator W266DA Brockton. The South Shore's first choice for live team coverage of breaking news, emergency traffic, and severe weather. WATD. Streaming online at 959WATD.com. And with your smart speaker, just by saying play WATD.
AP News, I'm Tim McGuire. West Virginia reports its first case of COVID-19, meaning the virus has spread to all 50 states. Governor Jim Justice says the case was reported in the state's eastern panhandle, not far from Washington, D.C. The White House is pitching what could work out to be a $1 trillion financial aid package to help companies and workers directly impacted by the outbreak. New York City's mayor is looking at ordering millions of people to stay at home. Ed Donahue has more.
About 7 million people around San Francisco can only leave their homes for essential reasons. These are the strictest measures so far in America, similar to orders in parts of Europe. New York Mayor Bill de Blasio has this in mind.
I think New Yorkers should be prepared right now for the possibility of a shelter-in-place order. It has not happened yet.
But Governor Andrew Cuomo's office immediately pushed back on the idea of a shelter-in-place order for the city, but he favors social distancing.
How can you reduce the flow? You reduce the spread. How do you reduce the spread you close down more interaction among people.
The governor says New York City would need state approval for a shelter in place. I'm Ed Donahue.
3 states, Illinois, Florida, and Arizona, are holding primaries today. Illinois' governor and election officials in Chicago are blaming each other about troubles being seen at various polling stations. A Florida election official is scrambling to find workers after many didn't show today along the Panhandle, and voters and Democrats in Ohio are upset that the primary was moved to June by election officials and the governor. Stephen Turner says he's not happy he won't be able to cast a ballot today.
I'm just extremely disappointed. The thing is, I really wanted to vote.
The state Democratic Party filed suit. The state's top health official, Dr. Amy Acton, cited the need to contain the pandemic. This is AP News.
Good evening. After the wet snow across Metro South, parts of the South Shore earlier, and the rain, that's moving away. Tonight will bring some clearing, a low of 36. Tomorrow, nice to get outdoors. You want to take advantage of a bright sky with sunshine. A few wispy clouds will show up late. A high of 49 to 53. It will stay chilly right along coastal towns with a light sea breeze. Then the next storm approaching tomorrow night with rain after midnight in the mid-30s. Thursday, spring arrives with the vernal equinox. Rain in the morning, tapering to a few showers, blustery in the mid-40s. And as that storm moves to the north, for the first full day of spring, Friday, nice and mild. It will be a gusty breeze, a shower in the area, sunny breaks, a high in the mid-60s, near 70 away from the Cape. We'll go into the weekend turning cooler, brisk on Saturday, mainly in the mid-40s into Sunday. For WATD, I'm meteorologist Rob Gilman.
This is Mike McNamara. If you have a financial question and are too shy or too busy to call us on our show, McNamara on Money, you can email us at questions@McNamaraOnMoney.com. As certified financial planner practitioners, we are knowledgeable about a number of financial topics. If we can't answer your question, we may be able to refer you to someone who can. If you take the time to ask the question, we figure we can make the time to answer it.
To Talk Real Estate, sponsored by Boston Connect Real Estate Services on 95.9 WATD.
Back. Hello to all my South Shore neighbors. How are you? Ben's over there freaking out. We're having our own little side panel here.
Only a little bit.
That's okay. We always show up. You're talking to Talk Real Estate with Sharon McNamara, along with the broker team here at Boston Connect Real Estate, who is our sponsor of our in-house studio here. So I have Melissa Wallace with me and Mary Baker, and we also have Deputy Chief Ken McCormick with us, and we also have our health agent from Pembroke, Lisa Cullity. So again, you guys, you're awesome. You're always here for us when we have a need for you to be here and sort of educate us. Big on education, and I think that that's what's going to help stop this spread. I'm not sure, Ben, you can let me know. I don't know if Josh hung up or if he's still with us.
I'm still here.
Perfect. And I think that Mark Stiles was also calling in.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am. How are you?
Perfect. Thank you, Mark Stiles from Stiles Law right there in Marshfield, too. So we're on Facebook as well to all of our listeners. We have a lot of people that are sort of watching and following along. I know it's a lot of people. It's a lot of moving parts, but we want to try to get as much information to you as we possibly can. So I'm going to start with Ken again. So, Ken, why don't you tell us what are some of the other procedures that you're putting in place as a department that's going to affect the public?
So today we had to take some procedures along with everybody else's. This changes daily. We've shut the building down to the public. Only the lobby, the front main lobby, is open to the public. Only fire department members can enter and walk through the building. We have suspended all but resale inspections, so there'll be no daycare inspections, restaurant inspections, business inspections. We're doing resale, propane, and oil as needed on a case-by-case basis. As we approach the house, if someone's obviously sick, we're not going to do it, we'll come back. So those are things that is not really normal for us. We're usually right, you call, we come, we do it. So for us to suspend that, things have changed or evolved rapidly over the last couple of days. That's we've had to protect the members.
Because one of the things that you said earlier that I just never thought of, and I guess it's one of those things, it's like you're like, holy you know what, because I didn't think of it that way, is that if one of your men went into a situation and then that person ended up coming back and was positive, if there were 4 of you or 5 of you, are you all having lunch or something, or
So under the rule, there's 7 on a shift plus myself and the chief.
Yeah.
If one person comes back or 2 people come back with it, all 7 of those people are quarantined. That's a quarter of the department.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Yeah. It took a little while for that to process, but you see, ding-a-ling-a-ling, it's in my head.
1 or 2 on each shift, that's 14 members.
Yeah.
So it can devastate the public safety part of this department if we don't start stepping up and doing all of the precautions and following along.
Could you borrow people from other towns?
Well, I'm 100% sure. We haven't. That's something we haven't done.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be in the same boat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they're not going to be willing to lend you their members if they're going to have the same issue. But could you bring back retired guys? I don't know. Could you go to the academy? I don't know. Those are some things that we haven't discussed yet. But they may have to be discussed.
Yep. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. It was a great point Ken was making. I want to just chime in that in terms of healthcare professionals, the state actually today took some steps to allow retired physicians who are in good standing to come back and start practicing. They announced that they're going to be relaxing some of the standards for EMS folks so that we're not running into a shortage there, allowing out-of-state practitioners to temporarily practice here, and also expanding telehealth so that people obviously can do things remotely via their phone, and also even allowing doctors in other states to conduct telehealth visits here in Massachusetts. When it comes to firefighters, obviously that's another level of concern and something we want to think carefully about. But in other areas, in other first responders and medical professionals, the governor is actively taking steps to try to see out those scenarios, because obviously we can't afford to lose our firefighters or police or anything like that.
We can't. And I know that Mary and Melissa actually recently took a class to get their gun license. That's another story for another day and a glass of wine.
We had no idea this was coming.
But I heard that they, have put a hold on that as well. But I think that they're sort of worried about sort of like a mass hysteria of people sort of going crazy. I mean, there's situations where this type of stuff happens, and I guess you guys being prepared, I think that that's another good reason to have a lockdown. I mean, when people are losing their jobs and they're uncertain, I mean, we just all really have to be aware. And that's why I've been saying, I had a Zoom meeting with all of Boston Connect Real Estate today, and actually Emmanuel Ebot from Stiles Law was so gracious to just pop in at a last minute notice to talk to us about the legalities of what's going on, what we have to watch out for in real estate. And it's good that we're prepared enough that we can do that, but I keep on saying it takes a village. Yep. And I can't stress it more than I am right now that I feel like the strength of a teepee, and I just think of a teepee being part of a village, but it just leans into each other, and I think that that's what we have to do as a community to keep us strong right now. So that's what my mindset is. So Mark, we have you on the line as well as from, I guess a real estate perspective of what you're seeing. I guess, can you get all of us up to speed with a couple of the things that you're seeing? Because I would say that the biggest concern with real estate, because this is all the economic trends that are going to follow along with this and the fall down potentially, starting with real estate, with the registries of deeds closing. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, priority number one is to calm and reassure, right? So, one of the things I see even in the comments on your Facebook Live right now is people are asking you, what's this going to do to prices, right? But if you look historically, we're still low on inventory. So we're not dealing with a bubble market right now. We're dealing with a speed bump that's going to spring right back. So we all need to maintain the enormous optimism that we all have. But when you talk about the logistics of it, right? So we're doing all of what CDC says to do. We've instituted engineered controls in our office where only a certain amount of people are in the office. We've locked the door. We have signs on there with a doorbell that it's virtually appointment only, and we've set up locations outside of our office that are disinfected, hourly to continue to operate as normal as we possibly can. We have gloves. We have everything that makes anybody comfortable with the social interaction that must still happen in a real estate closing. I mean, we're hoping that at some point the governor will enact an executive order to allow us the remote notary so that we don't have to actually be face-to-face during a closing. We've also made it mandated that the only folks we're going to meet with are the people who are signing documents, and everybody else is going to be invited to join through Zoom, through a teleconferencing platform, so they can participate in the closing. They're just not going to be seated there. With respect to the registries, that's a real concern. Most of us are set up with online recording because they're not allowing us into the buildings, but we can still online record. Now, when they shut those down, which Middlesex South in Cambridge has already done, you would think the closing would stop. It would be derailed. But I just got off a conference call today with our title insurance company, and they've allowed, for the short period of time that we're dealing with this, a policy where we can issue what's called gap insurance. And what that does is it, in essence, allows us to complete the closing on paper, but not yet record. So we can issue a title insurance policy, which means we can close, seller can get their check, new insurance policy for the homeowner can come into become active. They move in, seller moves out, takes their check, pays off their mortgage, closing happens, but we don't yet record. And we record under the insurance policy immediately once the registry reopens. So closings will still happen even if the registries are closed. Now, what we're preparing for, obviously, is a full 100% quarantine lockdown. And how will we operate with that? And without the remote notary, I'm not sure how we're gonna do it. Frankly.
What is a remote notary? So would that be anybody that's a notary? That how will that work?
So what would happen? And some of the states have already enacted this statute. Is it would allow us to email the documents to somebody, bring them up on a platform such as Zoom, and handle the closing virtually. So we would be talking them through, okay, on page 1, now you see here, now this, now are you signing freely and voluntarily? Yes, I am. Can you show me your driver's license? Put it up on the screen. This event would be recorded. We could save the link to the actual closing happening. And then when the documents came back, we could notarize it. So we're in that essence, we're notarizing virtually, where right now, as the statute stands in Massachusetts, the people have to appear next to you. They have to be in your presence, and virtual is not allowed yet. So I'm guessing that that's going to come in through an emergency order, and we'll be able to help facilitate these closings and these refinances because, with the rates being so low, it's a big benefit to people, especially when we're talking about the payment relief that people are going to be needing. This is going to reduce their payments overall. This is going to allow them, hopefully, to get some cash and maybe enter the stock market, and where all these deals are right now.
I had heard too, Mary, we had a closing and we were the listing agents on it, and they're doing sort of like the drive-by temperature thing, and you have to pull up and the documents are being signed in the window because they don't want anybody in their office. And Lisa, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, do we really have to be that careful? It's that catchy?
I see.
Oops, I don't know if Josh maybe hung up on us.
Oh,
sorry.
Well, I was
not sure what happened. I'll have him back in a moment.
But that was exciting. So yeah, you do need to be that careful. And the thing is everyone talks about social distancing, which is really important. But you've brought up an important point where the group of you have always been together. It's not just social distancing, but being around people that you're not normally around. When you make a contact far outside your normal circle, you have an opportunity to make a new contact and possibly come into whatever that person has. But then not only you mentioned this, alluded to this earlier, Sharon, that you bring that back to your circle. So like every one of you in your circle, it's like think of yourselves as a Siamese triplets, where one of you goes and interacts, the others do. Especially in a group that works as densely as you. Same thing with Ken back at the firehouse, and that's why, you know, the thing he made of you're touching or around someone very new, you're bringing that new entity, that new unknown quantity back. So from the perspective, now I'll take the side of the perspective of the attorney's office or the registry of deeds or anything else. Think about the hundreds of different people they would come into contact in a week. I would consider that a significant risk, and I'd be concerned.
We have to think about that when we're meeting new clients.
Absolutely.
You know, when you're meeting our clients, and this is part of the reason why we had a Zoom meeting with our agents, is because we are talking about what are we going to do for open houses and procedures doing that. There are some companies, local companies who have said no open houses. We're not allowing
Can't
people
disagree
to.
with them.
Yeah. So we're just trying to come up with some good ideas.
How about Trish's idea? I thought Trish had a very valid point, though, about this, about how to handle it, the open houses. Yeah.
You can explain it, because I don't necessarily.
She doesn't agree with it. So this is one of the thoughts that we came up with. So we can ban all of the open houses, but people are still, the inventory is really low. Mark has a really good handle on that as well. So people still want to see houses.
Yes.
So what we're going to end up happening is now we're going to have interrupted showings throughout a house, and we're going to be disinfecting through every single one of those and putting the seller at that risk. Is it better for us to do a 1 hour showing, a 1 hour open house, and just do limited amount of people in at one time? So we're there for 1 hour, and we're sort of washing things down as people are coming through, and then it's over.
Storage wars.
So
I like it.
Actually, you can look at that a couple different ways. So the way I would look at it is you never want more people than necessary in a dense area. So I guess if I'm going to flip the coin, you're asking me how I would do open houses. So what I would do if I had a property that I knew a lot of people wanted to see, yes, you don't want to disrupt your client more than necessary. But rather than having an open door open house, I would create some sort of virtual spreadsheet. We're having an open house from 3 to 6 at XYZ address. You want to see it, you sign up in your 15-minute or half an hour slot. That's yours. Someone goes out, you can go around and spray, next group. But I would keep those groups, because remember, not only do you want to protect your seller, which is a really important thing, you also want to protect all those prospective buyers, whether or not they want to protect themselves. And I get it. I trust me, I'm dealing with the prospective buyers as much as you guys down at Town Hall, or I was until today. That I understand how excited and how, with such limited inventory, how much they want to see a house. But you guys kind of have a responsibility to protect them from themselves as I knock your studio over. So by doing some sort of virtual sign-in or virtual log-on, you can have that 3 hour open house, but rather than have everyone there, the doors open, because we all know that's what happens. Everyone wants to be the first to see it so they can run back and get in their offer, is that you actually stagger people and you say, I'm going to put this open house live at 6 p.m. on Thursday, sign up. And so that people sign up for those times, and you're giving them all a fair shot to log in and sign up for their time. You're giving yourself a breather in between people. Recompose yourself, wipe down if you need to.
Where do I get one of those hazmat suits?
You can't get one of those hazmat suits.
We don't have any.
Yeah, there's no more left. But you give yourself a chance to reset too. And I would just encourage people as they walk through a house, please don't touch anything you don't absolutely need to, because again, this is a contact thing. This is droplets. Someone has to touch a surface in order to contaminate it. If people can kindly walk through, you maybe ask them to hold their hands, and everything else. If there's something they really,
I thought you wanted me to hold their hands. I was no, that's against the rules.
You have them hold hands, but it's a natural human reaction. I've gone to shake so many hands and had to stop myself, but it's a natural reaction. You look into the house, well, maybe I want to see if the water works, and say if there's anything you want to see. You want to see a closet opened or something else. And the other thing is, I would have my house ready to be looked at. I would open every door.
That's a good point.
That can be opened so that people can look without touching.
That's a really good one.
I'm a simpleton. For every one person that's infected, they know 10 people.
Absolutely.
So that's 10. So
Sharon,
1 is 10, 2 is 20.
Sorry, not to interrupt, guys. I'm so sorry, but we are rejoined by Mark Stiles, and we also have Jasmine on the line as well.
Okay, and did we lose Josh?
We did lose Josh, unfortunately.
Okay, perfect. Okay, well, not perfect, but thank you, Josh. I mean, perfect that he was able to join us. I did not mean it that way, but perfect that we have these other listeners with us, with Mark and Jasmine, too. So I'm just sort of, one of the things that I want to talk about a little bit more is,
8 minutes.
We only have 8 minutes. Lisa, this is one of my concerns, and I was doing so much research on it. It's like, can we get it off of a dog? Like, what can prevent it? Okay, so if somebody is not showing any signs of it, okay, let's just use Casey for an example.
Okay.
She has self-quarantined herself.
Yes.
She doesn't feel any symptoms of anything. She still could be carrying it. Okay. So is it like Casey could like touch me and then I could get it? Or is it like Casey sneezed on her hand and then wiped it in my eyeball?
Yes. It has to be, this is going to get a little graphic,
Yikes,
so
Sharon.
buckle up. So it has to be someone else's bodily fluid entering your body, your eyes, nose, mouth. So you need to touch something. So why they're so concerned about the touch rule is if someone sneezes on their hands or somehow has wiped their face, eyes, or whatever and touches something, now the germ is there. You have to not only touch it, but then you have to touch it and then put it on your mouth and everything else. But it's so instinctual to touch your face
It's so instinctual.
or to touch your nose. Yeah.
I didn't realize how often I touch my face, especially because I have glasses. Yeah. So I've been hyper aware the past few days of like, oh, I'm just touching my face. See, I'm doing it right now. And I'm talking about it.
It is.
But it's so instinctual, and you don't realize how much you touch your face until you can't touch it.
Yeah.
And it's so
Can I bring out my
frustrating.
comedic side of, you know what I'm thinking inside my head, right?
Oh, do tell.
Yeah, it's like, when people, birds and the bees, like, like
That's what I was just thinking.
you've been with someone and that person's been with someone and it's so on.
It is not dissimilar, except it doesn't quite level that intimate contact. But it is. But Ken said it. If you know one person with it, you have 10. And
But could it be that, like if it is an intimate situation, you know what I mean?
Absolutely transfer
That's how you can transfer it that way too?
Absolutely.
Right, because it's any fluid.
Fluid,
I mean,
yeah.
It's
if
any
we're doing
fluid.
a messy trauma.
Yeah.
Or
It could easily
CVR
happen,
call.
yeah.
I mean, you open yourself. That's why the gym
Yeah.
is
That's
not
why we're
a-
so
is-
concerned about
is
it. That's
a
not a
bad-
good place to be right now.
Yeah.
It's just that's what it creates. So
Yeah.
that's where we got to be kind of careful.
Yeah. All right. And Jasmine, I'm so sorry, but we had you on a lot last week, and I want to get a couple more calls in. I hope you don't mind, and maybe you can come on with us next week too. But if we run out of time, I just want to talk to Mark Stiles. Mark, again, Mark Stiles from Stiles Law. They have been the best of the best with supporting Boston Connect Real Estate and our agents. Emmanuel Ebot is fabulous. They are on the front line. They are there with information. They have a blog that is amazing. He's doing videos. He's educating agents and educating the general public, and I think that that's awesome. And I'm so lucky that I have a cell phone number, and he wears a Boston Connect sweatshirt when he goes skiing. So, Mark, any thoughts for you, because we really don't have much time left, and I'm sorry we just went over with everybody else. Final thoughts and important things that you want to bring to everybody's attention.
Just stay super positive about what's going on, and don't dwell too heavily in that the market is going to crash, because it's not. Real estate historically is one that just continues up, and we get a lot of people who have called and said, I don't know if this is a good time to do this. And people need homes, right? So it doesn't matter when. And what we keep telling people is your home is not an investment. Don't think of it as an investment. You need to live in a home, and you need to sell a home, then go forward. And real estate investing, it's the same mantra as the financial advisors are telling people about the stock market. You're not going to jump in and jump out and time it. Real estate, if you're an investor, you're buying. You're buying. And if you're looking to sell, you're selling. And really, what people are afraid of is a bubble. And that's not what's happening right now. And that's what I would leave everybody with. This is not a bubble. This is a speed bump that will spring back. And everybody just needs to calm and be reassured that everything's going to be all right.
And I'm trying my best. I'm doing pretty good, but I just think I'm one of those people who tends to be very proactive and rather than reactive, other than I don't want to be responsible to get somebody else sick. Just like I feel like with me being an agent, I don't want to be responsible for anybody else, losing money or deposits, which I think makes me a good agent as well. So, Mark, how can our listeners get in touch with you if they would like to have a consultation with you or one of your many very professional attorneys over there at Stiles Law?
Well, the best way would be our phone number, 781-319-1900. But to stay in touch with us best would be to either like our Facebook page, which we're giving updates daily on where things are going with this, or to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we have 90-plus value videos that help talk about a lot of things that people go through on a daily basis.
And I will make sure that
as well.
Okay, and I'll make sure that all that information is put on bostonconnect.com. And what I did with last week's show, and I'm going to do with this week's show, is I'm also going to do audio to text. So everything will be written in that blog, and everybody's information will be in there. So again, thank you so much, Mark, for joining us. Lisa and Ken, we have 2 minutes left. So final thoughts for our final seconds here.
Be smart, be safe. I know there's a lot of unanswered questions, but it's not as bad as it seems. And I'll just leave everyone with one of my favorite quotes in situations like this. It's a quote from Mr. Rogers. Not from Mr. Rogers. Actually, it was his mom. When you see great, terrible things happening, look for the helpers. The helpers are everywhere.
That's a good one. And Ken, do you have any words of wisdom?
How can I beat that?
He's like, boy, I wish I went first.
There's no one better than
Do an original from Ken.
No, just be kind to everybody. Let this thing work its course. Just be safe and check on your neighbors. That's it.
Yeah. I think that's really important, is checking on your neighbors, because one thing I find...
most vulnerable.
Yeah, and that generation tends to be the stubborn generation as well, and they don't want to feel like a burden, but I'm just putting out there, if you do need help, there's help there.
Our COA, again, closed to the public for the safety of their demographic, but I am talking to our awesome COA director, Gretchen Emmets, pretty much daily. They're checking the phones. They're checking on their population. They're seeing what they need. That phone number for Pembroke COA, 781-294-8220.
One more time.
781-294-8220. Gretchen and her staff are checking in. If you're a senior that feels like you're out of touch, leave your name and number. They will check in on you. You don't have internet access. You want some more good data. They're going to help you get it. You need someone to bring you something. They're going to do that. Meals on Wheels is continuing, so you're not alone. Even if you're out of touch with the data, even if you don't want to do that technology junk, as I'm told, reach out to the COA. They're there to help fill in that gap for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And if there's anything that we can do here at Boston Connect Real Estate, we're happy to do it. Our phone number is easy too. We can connect you with the right people. 781-826-8000, 781-826-8000. And I really mean it from my heart. Like, if you need me to pick up some milk, I will search all over to find that milk for you. And I have a little stash of TP at my house, only because I am that person that just happened to have it. So, Ken, if people need to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
They call the business line, 781-293-2300.
Okay.
Which is our business non-emergency. And
Perfect.
we'll guide them in the right direction. That's kind of how we want. If you don't need to show up to the firehouse,
Don't show up.
do business,
Non-emergency
do it that
line.
way.
Then don't show
Call
up.
us, call us, call us.
All right. Well, thank you so much,
Thank
you
you so
guys. I really
much.
appreciate it. Have a great night. Be safe, you guys. We need you. Put on those
Thanks.
cloaks. Bye, everybody. We'll see you next week. Thanks, Ben.
Always a pleasure.